So Open Social, in a nutshell, is our globally endorsed technology to inspire, engage, and mobilize people. It represents the longest technology investment at Greenpeace, non-stop. We've been working with the company for over 10 years and investing over 2 million euros in this project because we firmly believe in what the vision is. That is essentially providing an easy-to-use, mobile responsive tool for people to not only join groups and events organized by Greenpeace, but obviously via a profile that they have to create and maintain, create and attend their own events or events created by their people in the communities or by members of the climate justice movement in their country. Essentially, the idea for Open Social is that people take an active role in change making and ultimately, obviously, grow the movement. Not only Greenpeace telling, hey, there is an event, but also create your own event and join like-minded people like you by sharing messages, connecting with them, and so on and so on. As of today, July 2022, 10 national and regional offices are using this technology. Around 52,000 user profiles are active at the moment in 17 countries and in 14 languages. The latest good news is that our colleagues from Greenpeace Netherlands will re-adopt the tool in the last quarter of this year. One of the coolest innovation that we introduced recently is the launch of the GreenAct mobile application that essentially aims to connect all the communities on that we have on Open Social from a single place. Think about Slack. Essentially, it works exactly the same way you access multiple workspaces or Open Social communities from a single app, obviously by logging into the ones that you already have a profile or creating one in the one that is closest to you or not. Essentially, briefly, in this diagram, you can see where Open Social fits in a classic standard NRO landscape of engagement technology. It sits in the digital organizing space along with the regular CMS that our offices use to dispatch press release, blogs, and to tell their stories. And if NROs adopted in the distributed organizing space, so is in this digital organizing space, obviously connected to all our analytics suite. Today, we are talking about this connection, this thread that unites Open Social with the engagement CRM, constituent relationship management tool, bypassing via the Cosmos, the data platform. And why did we ended up doing all this? Because it's fundamental to understand a good overview, to have a good overview on what people do with Greenpeace. Someone may have signed a petition, but also be a volunteer or an activist in our Open Social instance, or be a donor, or be any kind of variance in this. To essentially arrive and provide a personalized experience with Greenpeace, we must know what people do with us. And that's why we decided to start this very exciting project to integrate Open Social with Salesforce, that is the most widely adopted CRM in our organization. And I guess I'm going to pass it over to Lilian.
So what is Cosmos? I'm going to tell you a little bit about it in case you haven't heard of it. It's quite new, I guess, in GPI. It's a project that started 2 years ago because of this need where we are working towards our engagement systems vision, where we have identified the system we want to use for the specific purpose, but then what, right? We have the data in each system a bit siloed, and we need some data engineering solutions to create the right data flow to integrate this data to make the best out of it. So we are a data engineering team, but also a solution. I don't call it a product because it's more like a suite of products whose goal is to democratize data in the Greenpeace network. And by democratize, we mean to make sure that the right people has the right access to the right data at the right time. So Cosmos is built on Google Cloud, and the few suite of products that right now it has is a modern data stack, which is also composed of these systems that I've listed here: Airbyte, Airflow, BigQuery, dbt for transformations. We've also developed other custom modules like petition counters for HubSpot. We're in the process of developing a data catalog, and yeah, we have a long roadmap, which you can see also in the link below. So far, the existing integrations that we've worked on are for Control Shift, for HubSpot, for the finance data in the Sun system, all going through Cosmos to cities, mainly for reporting purposes. The Open Social integration is the first one that we do, is the first reverse ETL kind of integration, which means that we are not only sending data to the data visualization tool, but we are sending it back to another system to merge that data there and use it in that system. So I'm gonna pass over to Mayank to tell us more about how we have done this Open Social to Salesforce integration.
Thanks, Lilian. So yeah, this Open Social integration, this diagram kind of depicts what's going on under the hood. So basically, what we are doing is that from the Open Social database, we fetch it through Airbyte. So Airbyte is basically a tool which helps us to create ETL data pipelines. So from Airbyte, we can extract and load the data from any data source to any data destinations, which kind of gives us flexibility to create different data pipelines according to the different needs. Whatever the need of NRO is, we can create a pipeline for them. And then from BigQuery, we are sending the data via a reverse ETL method. So basically from a data warehouse to any source that we can send to. In this case, it's Salesforce. So that's the whole diagram. And in between these processes, in between these steps, there can be as many transformations as we want. So there is the flexibility of transforming the data any way we want, and there is the flexibility of choosing what data we want to fetch from the data source, right? So basically we can customize it down to the number of fields that we want to fetch, and all the transformations we want to do, all the aggregations, everything that we want to do with the help of these tools. And which kind of gives us flexibility in providing number of solutions for different NRO needs. So yeah, that's pretty much sums up this diagram. And it's kind of similar for other NRO, other systems as well, which were displayed in previous slide. For HubSpot Control Shift, it works the same way. So we have these tools in between, and we kind of build a solution with the help of these tools, Airbyte, Airflow, and we can transfer data from one place to another. It can be any database, any source, or CRM. In Open Social's case, it's a CRM, Salesforce. So yeah, that's it. Next slide. I will again pass on to Lilian to explain what we have done for Open Social Belgium.
Yes, thanks, Mayank. So for this integration, we have focused mainly on personal data. We know that in GreenWire, we are collecting way more data, right? Related to events, maybe related to user activity, to groups, interests, trainings. For this one, these are the fields that we focused on. Mainly, there's not really a difference or a huge difference in effort to include more fields. We could include, we are already extracting all the data from the database, so we could pick all the fields if you would want. But what we need to do is a mapping of fields of the fields that you want from Open Social. And then we asked the Open Social team to help us in identifying what's the table name in Open Social, because this is from the database side. We know maybe, yeah, the Open Social teams don't have access to this. And then we need Greenpeace Belgium to identify in which record field from Salesforce each field is going and in which table. So having this, we got the mapping for only those fields. That's why we did the integration only with this. There are plans. This first try for the integration has been more like a pilot to see, okay, how does it work? Is it providing value? Building the pipeline. But then the plan is to next keep working further on improving this integration, right? Either by integrating more data or also creating new metrics out of the data that we are getting from Open Social. And we expect that to do that with the help of the community, of course. Okay, I think that's about the integration itself. I think I can pass now to Ben to tell us more about what happens on their side in Salesforce once they get their data and what did they use it for.
So maybe first, this is then the Belgian side of what you just have seen. So the Cosmos team for us is kind of a black box, or the Cosmos solution. You see it's at the left. They make sure they get the right data out of Open Social, do the right transformations, and then it comes to Universe. And what's important in our architecture is that in Universe, we load everything in staging tables that come as part of the Universe solution. So there are no updates directly to contacts or leads, which gives us the benefits that all the data that comes in the same way as with all the other integrations we have today. So in Belgium, we use engaging networks that sends us petition signs. We have control shift labs. We have the tablets. We have telemarketing that sends files. So all our integrations go to that staging area, which gives us the opportunity to at first have some level of audits. We see exactly what all those external systems send to us before we make the real updates in contacts and leads and maybe all other objects. But we can do a lot of other things that then all follow the same standard processes. Address enrichment is one thing we do, but maybe that's just a detail. Every address comes in before going to a contact, it's sent to a service that cleans and standardizes the address. But in that staging conversion, we can define then the mappings, what will or who will become a contact, who will become a lead, which fields on contacts and leads will get updated, and so on. And the biggest value, or the last two things, is the deduplication. And that is one of the problems we'll come to in the next slide that we currently have. So we know there must be a big overlap of our volunteers database with what we currently know in Universe as people who are donors or sign petitions, but we've never merged those two groups. So currently, even today, because we didn't do it in production yet, we don't know yet what's exactly the overlap between volunteers and our other people in the database. So that's where those deduplication rules help. Again, they exist, they are standard functionality, they're defined a long time ago for all those other integrations. So just by getting the data now in staging, it will run through the same deduplication rules, and then based on certain fields like email address or a combination of birth date and last name, or we have 20 rules in total that check fields from what comes from the external system and what already exists in Universe. We will be able to define the duplicates. And so then instead of creating new contacts, because our volunteers will become contacts, not leads. So instead of creating new contacts, we can update existing contacts with new data, with the fact that they are also volunteer, either automatically if the match is close enough, or through a manual process. There is a user interface where our support services team can see, well, this is data that came in, there is a close match with this person. Do you think it's the same person? And if it's the same person, which are the fields we want to keep either from the target or from the incoming records? Good, so that's an important concept. That's staging area. We'll get the data from Cosmos, but it comes to our staging area in in Universe, and we still have a lot of Universe processes after it before it really goes into a contact, or a lead gets converted to a contact, which is another option. Okay, next slide. So just an overview on where we are now. So we worked, as you've seen in previous slides that Lilian showed, a lot on the mapping and the technical connections. So we now get production data from Greenwire into our Universe system. Still, Universe is still a UAT system, so not our production system. And we're currently testing the mappings, and well, at the first sight, all looks good. There is some small feedback I passed to the Cosmos team that we're now seeing if we can further customize those mappings. Just to give you an example of what Cosmos can do or is trying to do on those mappings, because indeed it's a system-to-system mapping. It's not a data warehouse, but one of our fields has a street and the house number concatenated in one field, while in Universe we needed as two separate fields, a street field and a house number field. So that just to give you an idea on the things we're currently investigating. Can Cosmos do that split for us so that we get the data in the format as we expected in Universe? Good. So we are, what we still have to do, so we are finalizing those testings with that back and forth discussion. We also still need to do a small test of the delta loading, because what Cosmos is doing is not sending all the data every night, of course. There is also some intelligence that only changes are sent to us. So only new volunteers signing up or changes to existing volunteers. So yesterday I made some changes in our Greenwire production system with my own user, changed my address a bit, created a new volunteer. And so today I'm testing if it correctly comes to us, and we'll see if also the delta load works. And once that connection is done, then there's still some work to do on the Universe side. Then we need to set up the exact conversion rules, make customized user interface to do duplicate checkings with the merge settings, create some list views before we finally switch it to our production Universe system. Good, so that's where we're at on the work. What will be the benefits once we have this initial integration? And want to emphasize it's an initial phase. So we want to do a lot more, but even with this initial integration, it will already provide us some value. And maybe what I said earlier, we'll finally be able to have a clear view on the combination of donors and petition signers, which we already have in Universe, but we'll see how that matches with volunteers. Is there a big overlap? Is it a completely different audience? That kind of information is currently missing, and we'll be able to see that in Universe. And then also as a first step in our segmentations, because we know now who are the volunteers in the system, we'll, for example, be able to exclude them for certain emails. If we do hard fundraising asks to people who signed a petition, but volunteers are also signing the petition, who would say, okay, volunteers already give us a lot of valuable time. We don't want to ask for money at this time. Just with this integration, we can easily exclude then the volunteers that we will get from the Greenwire integration. And Bailey, it's baseline. So that's indeed the step to the next slide. So with this initial integration, we at least know who the volunteers are. And then you see this slide is a way bigger slide. So this is with our wish list of all the other things we want to do once we have that integration going. And the first step might be easy, so that's still some investigation we need to do, is I think it's a bit what Spain wants to do, what Osvaldo mentioned. We also want to send emails now to those volunteers through our standard emailing tool, which for Belgium is still Engaging Networks. And to do that, we need to get the data in Universe first, Universe do a segmentation, and then send it to Engaging Networks. What is currently blocking us from doing that is that we don't have the right email consents. So that's more a GDPR legal thing. We need to check if a volunteer signs up in Greenwire, he gives his consent to receive the Greenwire newsletter and receive communication about volunteering. But we don't have a consent yet that we can also send that donor other information about Greenpeace or even direct mailing with fundraising asks. So that's a part we need to verify, maybe update the terms and conditions, maybe have a separate opt-in on the Greenwire side to collect this consent for direct mailing. But so that's a field that's a thing we're still figuring out, but would be a prerequisite before we can really start sending emails to those people from our standard platform, because we don't have those email consents. And then more advanced. So what we also want to do is get some, Lilian said we focus on master data, on personal data about the donors, but we also, about the volunteers, but we also want to know more about how active they are in volunteering, do some kind of engagement scoring. And for that, we need a lot of other things. First of all, then we would need to have a kind of a key mapping, so that once the volunteer comes to Universe and we went through that whole process of staging conversion and duplicate merge, at the end, there will be a mapping of this is a Salesforce ID, maps to this Open Social ID. And then we can also start sending transactions, because for transactions, we don't want to go through staging each time. We want to just add transactions to our contact. And transactions can here be the fact that the volunteer becomes active or inactive as a simple status, or other indicators like how many events did the person attend, how many messages did the person send, and so on. But those, I call it transactions because they will change day after day, week after week. It's not like the master data that is more stable and that needs to go to that deduplication process. But that's what I would say is maybe phase 3. The first thing we want to figure out is that first bullet point, we really want to use Universe and our standard tools to send the emails. So we're figuring out how to do those email consents first, which is maybe more a legal thing than a technical thing. But that's our next priority after this initial integration works. Good, I think that's it for the Belgium side. Maybe just to repeat that, or to say that we're really happy with the collaboration. It went rather smooth, this process. And even with the initial integration, I think already have our initial value by getting that 360 view on who are volunteers and our other supporters. So thanks to the Cosmos team.
Okay. Yes. So talking about the process, we have identified these steps as the steps needed for the implementation of this integration. The ones I highlighted in yellow, those where we require some effort from the NRO. As I have split the tasks in like 3 phases. One is the preparation, where we need all this mapping to be done from your side. We need the right access to the right systems. The Cosmos team needs the right access to the right systems. Then we do the integration on staging, we do some testing, and then in production. I have specified there a very rough estimation of hours, but this could depend, right? Like it could be that the mapping of fields, for example, I put here like 1 whole week for identifying the fields in Open Social and also the mapping. But yeah, it could be that your office needs a bit more time because it needs to coordinate with other teams, or it could be that you already have it figured out and you do it in 1 day. So in total, in the spreadsheet, I put the total is about like 13 days from NRO effort required. But yeah, as I said, it could be like half of that, maybe like 5 days, or maybe it could be more, depends on your NRO and how your team has this already identified these things. And not all at once, right? Because it requires some work, then it requires some work to be done on the Cosmos team, and then some testing from your side. So back and forth. I estimate in total the whole integration from beginning to end would last about a month, maybe. Hopefully less.
Thanks. So please, just a few things. Obviously, the idea is to release this first version of the integration, that it's only about people's data and not about actual content data, or as Ben calls them, transactional data, to deploy to everyone. We listed all the offices that use Salesforce and Open Social, obviously. We also listed a few offices that are not currently using Salesforce, but of course, we can also deploy part of this technology. so only the extraction of the data from Open Social into whatever kind of CRM you are adopting. It would be just fantastic if you can indicate the preference of your office and ideally the preferred start date. As Lilian mentioned before, this should take around a month of work. And obviously we don't have the capacity to do 6 at the same time, but the more prepared we are, the more effective and efficient we will be deploying this technology before the end of the year. And I guess that's it.